severed my nose in two, and part of my lip here, part of my eye actually, it just nicked the eyelid. Just a centimeter off and I would have lost my eye for sure. And also down on my face over here. I don't know if you guys can see it.
So on this channel, I do a lot of content of Americans traveling to Europe or Europeans visiting America and whatnot, but specifically Americans getting some backlash for not expanding their minds and eventually turning a new leaf and traveling and exploring the world and learning that the world is bigger than just the United States of America. Americans have gotten a lot of backlash for holding the United States as the #1 supreme power in the world. So it's funny sometimes to see some tongue-in-cheek jokes from other countries making fun of Americans abroad. But this story is actually pretty serious, very serious, and also very heroic from an American. So there was a 21-year-old tourist from upstate New York by the name John Rudot that wound up traveling to Dresden, Germany. For any of you guys that have watched this channel, you know that I visited Dresden last year for my camper tour, and it was an amazing experience for me, a little different and kind of jarring in some aspects considering it is definitely East Germany, so it had that East Germany vibe to it. But apparently while this tourist was on a train, there was an altercation.
So I had entered the tram with my host brother and my friend, and we took seats right next to a woman at the time that was later going to be the one that was assaulted by that initial man.
Apparently there was a man that was bothering two women on the train that he was on, and of course he kind of let things slide a little bit because it was all verbal at first and then it became physical.
The man came over, started disturbing her, started harassing her, touching her. I stood up, intervened, vocalized the fact that I did not approve of what he was doing. I told him to stop.
What I've noticed is there is a huge problem with the bystander effect. When things do happen, for instance, I had seen incidents like that in Germany where if things did get physical between people, a lot of individuals would just walk by and not do anything. I think in America, it's a bit different. People do like to intervene and de-escalate if they can, or at least help separate people if they can. I'm not sure if that's a common occurrence, but that's just from what I've observed. Anyways, he decided to create some space between him and the women, and the individual directed his attention towards John. So John's trying to separate the women from the attacker, and the women and stuff are, you know, obviously very grateful. Little did John know that this attacker had an accomplice.
But he continued to try to attack me, and at that time I heard a quick click. I looked to the right and I saw a man that I had never seen before with a brutal expression on his face lift up his hand and cut me in the face with a knife.
One of the men started pummeling Rudot, and his accomplice slashed him across the face. Disturbing video posted on X shows the American model and newly qualified paramedic bleeding profusely from his face, with blood splattered over the floor of the tram, along with tissues being used by other passengers to treat his wounds.
And the second he turns around, his accomplice slashes him across the face, cutting his nose, his upper lip, and his cheek.
Interview since the frightening ordeal, Rudot told German journalist Julian Reichelt that he was nearly blinded by the attack.
Severed my nose in two, and part of my lip here, part of my eye actually, it just nicked the eyelid. Just a centimeter off and I would have lost my eye for sure. And also down on my face over here. I don't know if you guys can see it.
There is video footage of people recording him right afterward, like the aftermath of his face being leaky, and the individuals on the train lend him whatever they have, tissues, cloths, whatever, to help cover up the wound on his face. I thought it was very heroic, obviously, because there are way too many. I guess I've seen a heightened amount of attacks, especially knife attacks in Germany specifically, and this has been over the last, at least from what I've observed, over the last 5 years. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what's going on. I think some of you guys have informed me of what's been happening out there and whatnot, but it's getting insane. What I found ridiculous, and what he found ridiculous as well, is the individual that was responsible for slashing him in the face and harassing the women. First of all, I'm pretty sure they're two different individuals, but they both work together. So the individual that was responsible for slashing the gentleman's face was eventually arrested and then released, and he was outraged.
They could do this to the people of Germany and then just get released 12 hours later, even less at this point. Where's the law? Where's the structure?
The guy physically attacked him and, you know, opened up his face. So there was huge backlash all over the internet. So much backlash that 12 hours later, he was detained again. The individual that wound up slicing his face was detained again. And I guess there's a huge discussion right now between people in America online and people all over Europe about the laws, specifically, I guess, in Germany, and if they are strict enough for people like this that decide to commit heinous acts like this.
If y'all didn't think that Europe had an immigration problem, especially Germany, let me drop some knowledge on you. It is 11:57 right now. In 3 minutes, that man that assaulted that young woman yesterday will be released from custody. He'll be released from custody because he's not a citizen of Germany. He's not a citizen of the EU for that matter. He doesn't belong in here.
He said it wasn't a color issue, it wasn't a political issue, it was simply an individual on the train making these women feel unsafe, and he stepped in to put them in a safer situation. And I do find that to be very heroic. Again, I do a lot of videos where I do dunk on Americans all the time, and I'm like, yeah, like, I mean, I'm an American myself, right? So I dunk on myself. I'm like, man, like, I did this wrong, and my perception of this was wrong. But I do think that something that I do admire from this individual, and I do see it in a good chunk of Americans, is this selfless behavior. He saw somebody that was in danger and he did what he thought was right, and because of that, 2 lives are now saved. He has a scar on his face, as you guys can see.
Certainly I'll have a scar, but, you know, it was worth it, and I'll wear it with pride.
In his interview, Rudat said the attack boiled down to simply a problem of violence, and that the problem to me wasn't anybody's skin color, wasn't anybody's race. It was the fact that a woman was being harassed and assaulted.
What makes this even more remarkable is he is a model, right? So obviously in a profession where you have to show your face to the world 24/7, this definitely changes a lot of things and whatnot. But it was very eye-opening, and I thought I should cover it because it is something that I do think is a very serious problem. And I have seen, again, over the last 5 years, way more articles specifically from Germany of knife attacks and what have you, from just Germany alone. I mean, we're not talking about any other country in Europe, just specifically Germany alone. And, you know, the perpetrators getting away with doing this. So I don't know what needs to be done at all. I just know it's insane, and I'm glad somebody stepped up to protect those 2 women and whatnot. It's wild. But let me know what you guys' thoughts and feelings are in the comments down below. Whether or not you would have made the same decision, the same choice if you saw something like this happen in front of you, or if it would have been too much and maybe you would have called for help. I think that this was such a sporadic event that I don't think he could have called anybody. He had to act in the moment, or they would have definitely been in a very unfortunate situation. I mean, as you saw, he got, got hurt, and they could have very well, they were getting actively hurt as well, but not on the same level he was. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. So let me know what you guys' thoughts and feelings are in the comments down below. This video is a little bit more serious than my usual topics and whatnot, but I'll see you very soon. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace.